espresso. It's fussier than the royal family at high tea, more unforgiving than Daenerys Targaryen in the last scene of Game of Thrones, and the only way to really tame this beast is with a good grinder. But grinders aren't really sexy like the coffee machines. In fact, most of the low entry-level grinders look like an R2-D2 ripoff. But then, a company that is hands down the sexiest designers of kettles, called Fellow, releases their latest grinder, their cheapest grinder yet, specifically for espresso, called the Opus. But it doesn't matter if it's cheap and it's sexy if the coffee doesn't taste any good. So I thought I'd put it to the test and see whether it holds up with my Synesso, a sexy and smart coffee machine. But will it perform? Let's check it out. Drum roll, please. Oh, that was a bit anticlimactic. Can't even get the bloody plastic off. There we go. Oh. Here she is. Beautiful. I love it. It's so sleek. Like, compared to the normal appliance grinders, which this is clearly targeting, this is so much more designer than anything I've ever seen. The fact that this is all one matte color with a few markers just to show you what your grind size is, and a little explainer here to tell you what the button does, because there's one button on the whole thing. In fact, I don't even know how you can tell if it's on. Like, there's nothing. Hello? Anyone in there? I'm not sure how you tell if it's on. That's my probably one big thing that I wish it just would. Oh, I heard something. It beeped. It beeped. That's how you can tell. There's no light, nothing there. I wish there was a light. Maybe this would illuminate or something that would tell me that it's working, because that's pretty risky. Yeah, I guess there's a safety switch there. Yeah, that doesn't go on. So that's a safety switch there. So it only goes when you put the hopper in. You can hear a little beep there, and that's ready to go. So I have to say, compared to the Breville Smart Grinder, this looks so much more beautiful. I just do not enjoy the LED screens of those appliance grinders. And I know that's hypocritical because I have a decent espresso, which is one big, massive display, but that's a different sort of display. And I much prefer this, even though there's nothing telling me where it's at or what's on. I still prefer this sleek design to that of the Breville. I think it just oozes specialty coffee. It's got a little just explained down here which says 1 shot will give you 30 seconds, 2 short presses will give you 60 seconds of grinding, 3 short presses will give you 90 seconds, and press and hold will give you about 2 minutes. So that's if you want to time your grind and adjust it. So rather than on the Breville Smart Grinder where you actually set the time and you have to change it, this is, you don't have to worry about it. You can set your adjustments and then you can tap depending on how long you want to grind or how fine the grind is. You might need to go up a few more times. So that's really all you need, because you're single dosing most of the time. So you're not going to be dosing the entire hopper's worth at once. So let's talk about the features of the Fellow Opus. It only has the one button on the front with multiple press functions, so you can see the different timings there. Now, the burrs themselves are 40mm conical burrs. Really nice. It has a really easy way to get in, access that, and to adjust it as well. So for cleaning, really nice. You have 41 steps. So it's not a stepless grinder like some of the other grinders, but like the Breville Smart Grinder, it has steps, and there are 41. So whilst it specifically is designed to do espresso very well, you can actually go right up to French press. And in fact, inside the lid is a little guide which shows you from 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up to 11, all the different types of brewing methods from espresso through to AeroPress, pour overs, French press, and cold brew. So that's a really handy guide for newbies starting out in the world of coffee, depending on what you're brewing. Beyond those 41 steps is actually a little fine tuner as well, which allows you to just adjust those grind sizes even more within each of those steps. There's 13 micro steps that happen at each one of the normal steps. So you can just get really finely tune it, which is perfect for espresso because sometimes the steps are too large and you might be too fine on one setting and too coarse on the other. So having this extra adjuster really means you can hone in on that perfect grind size. It has a safety feature. Hear the little beep there. When you pop the hopper in, it is now telling it's ready to go, so you don't just accidentally grind your fingers off, which happened to my brother. Then there's also the anti-static technology that sits inside. So inside here, it's got a little anti-static plate there, which is similar to the Ode, the Gen 2 on the Fellow Ode grinders. Just means it's clean. It doesn't mean it sprays out coffee grinds in every direction like some of the other grinders do, and just makes it a lot cleaner. Now, the other little nifty thing is that you can pop this dosing cup right into place magnetically. See? Pops into place. And that means it's directly below the chamber, so it's dropping straight into your dosing cup. And this little guy is quite clever as well. So it has a little dosing cup built into the capture if you want to capture grinds completely or just go straight into your dose. And then that way you can put that straight into your portafilter. So really clever design there. I think that's really nice. One of the downsides I really think for newbies and home baristas that are just getting started in the world, because this is what it's clearly aimed at, is that it doesn't have a portafilter cradle. So when you look at other machines, you put your portafilter in there, it holds the portafilter in place and it just grinds straight into the portafilter. This particular one has to be dosed up into the cup. So it's not allowing you to get any grinds into your portafilter, which for some home baristas, especially new ones who aren't doing single dosing or who aren't doing that precision dosing, they might find that feature to be not worth their while, because it's probably better for them to just dose straight into the portafilter, takes one less step. I don't know. It depends on what sort of, how seriously you take your espresso and how far you want to go down the rabbit hole. I'm getting quite picky now with its cons, but that's one thing that I can see might be an issue. Other than that, it's beautiful. Now we just got to test it on the machine and see how good the coffee comes out. All right, now what I'm going to be using is Il Caramello, which is a gorgeous blend, caramels and malts and a hint of apricots. It's absolutely beautiful. If you want to purchase some, you can jump on the website, coffeebeansdelivered.com.au. But hey, you don't have to purchase anything. I do these videos because I love making content. I love reviewing grinders like this one. If you like these videos, you can just give me a like. If you want, you can subscribe to the channel. You can leave a comment in the section below. I'll usually respond to it, but I just love making content. And if you love watching my content, then that's all the support that I need. So let's get into making some coffee. All right, so we want to grind some coffee in there, and I want to test the grind retention, because grind retention is pretty important if you're single dosing. What grind retention means is how much coffee goes in the hopper and gets lost between the hopper and the chute at the end. So the less grind that gets lost somewhere in this chamber, the better. Obviously, we're trying to get it under 0.1 of a gram, if that's possible. I'm not sure if it's possible on this machine, because otherwise you have to overdose your initial amount of beans in order to get the exact amount for here. Ideally, for my recipe that I'm using 22.5 grams. So I want to make sure that I have 22.5 grams in the basket. And that means if this has a high retention, I'm going to have to dose it up to maybe 23 grams in order for it to dose out 22.5. But I think we should just test what the grinding retention is. All right, so let's get started. My little dosing cup here. Oh, I just love this. This is so cool. Look. I could be hours here. Doesn't need a computer game. I just play this. It's like one of those little punching bags. All right, enough mucking around. I'll do 30 seconds. Let's see, it should be enough to do one whole dose in 30 seconds. "30 seconds feels like a really long time." Mostly gone. Might just go under there. There we go, that's most of it. So 30 seconds almost there. Almost 1 gram, 21.6. No, getting close, 22.2, 22.3. Okay, so it's 0.2 gram. But a lot of shaking, but at least that gets us something we can then put in. There we go, there's my 0.2 grams of coffee at 22.6, perfect. This can go straight into my dosing cup. I love that. That is very cool. Put it straight on top. Wow, seal's gone on that one. Okay, a little bit fine there. That's that. Very over extracted. Lovely. Tastes like charcoal. So we know that it does really fine coffee if you want to get down to Turkish. Probably pretty close. Need to dial it back a bit. We're going to do this in fast mode. Well, you can see everything worked out pretty well in the end. We got a really nice result and not too much fussing around. I actually liked the process of getting refined right into that perfect sweet spot. But then this happened. So that's not good after one day scratching it. I think there must have been a bit of grind on the base and that's what made it scratch. That might be a downside to having it as a matte black surface on there, because that is definitely going to scratch over time a lot more, especially if that just scratched after one shot. So now I want to try this coffee. Yeah, that's pretty great. That's very balanced, very smooth. Yum. All right, this grinder, good. It definitely has a lot more retention, but I think the Breville Smart Grinder has retention a lot as well. So I think it's not going to worry most of the newbies at home. Okay, so what are my final thoughts on the Fellow Opus? Well, pros are that it's probably the cheapest entry-level grinder, maybe a little bit more expensive than your Breville Smart Grinder. It's beautiful and sleek, much nicer design than any other appliance brand that I've seen out there. With the 41 steps and the 13 internal steps, you get essentially 500 plus steps. So you can really hone in on that perfect espresso grind, as well as capturing pretty much every other grind size from Turkish right up to cold brew. So I think you won't have to buy multiple grinders. It's super easy to use with just one single button. I really like the dosing cup. It has low grind retention, and the anti-static technology really does help most of your coffee end up in the dosing tool. And I love the fact that this dosing tool just sits neatly over the top of your portafilter. One of the other pros is that it has a really consistent grind. I actually notice it way more than the Breville's, which has a lot of clumps in it. This comes out very nice. So I haven't analyzed the particles, but I assume that they're a lot closer in size. And with the anti-static technology, it helps declump it all. You get a really nice bed of coffee, and you don't have to do a huge amount of coffee preparation before you extract it. I think this is one of the best grinders to help introduce people, especially newbies, into the world of precision brewing. Now, the cons. It does only come in one color, which is a bit limiting, especially if you have a white kitchen with white appliances. It would be nice to see this in a white in the future, and maybe some other colors as well, but it's a definite upside to that brushed aluminium look of the other appliance brands. The other downside with the matte finish is that obviously it does scratch a bit, and I'm worried that over time that this area under here will be quite scratched. The other problem that I find is that a lot of people, especially newbies, will be annoyed that it doesn't have a portafilter cradle, because it's just one extra step. You have to dose out your coffee, then you have to tip it into your portafilter and then use it into your machine, whereas some of the other appliances just dose straight into your portafilter. One of the other things is there's no light or indicator that tells me that it's actually on. So I would just love just a green light to tell me that it's on, just so that I know where I don't have to press around with the button to turn it on. And even though there is a low grind retention, I just noticed that in order to get as much of the grind out as possible, I have to bang it around a bit. And I really don't like that. And I always find that what happens is I pull that doser out, and then I touch this and a whole bunch of grind comes right out of it. And that is a little bit annoying. So I recommend, if you do buy this, buy a brush, because it does make a lot of mess. And so you will need to clean up fairly often. So who would buy this? Well, I think newbies starting out in coffee, or maybe you've had a machine for a while and you've been buying pre-ground coffee and you don't want to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a grinder. This is perfect because this is quite a low barrier in terms of its price, and I think it delivers amazing coffee. Yes, you're going to have to do a little bit of a learning curve in order to get understanding around how to use this and get an understanding of single dosing. But I do like that it helps you understand precision brewing a bit more. So if you're willing to learn it, then I think this is the machine for you. But if you're looking for convenience, or just you're not really fussed about it, but you just want a decent grinder, this probably isn't one that I would recommend for that person. Certainly, my wife would have very little interest in learning how to dose precisely, all for just one coffee. Overall, I give it an 8.5 out of 10, and I'm really excited to see if Fellow bring out more of these grinders down the track. So there you have it. That is the Fellow Opus. I'm going to drink my coffee now and enjoy it before it gets too ruined. And I hope you enjoyed this video, because if you do, give us a like, Leave any comments in the section below because I really want to hear your feedback if anyone else has been using it at home. I intend to do another review comparing it side by side to the Breville Smart Grinder, and I'm going to take this home for a couple of weeks to really dial it in and see how well it performs over multiple coffees. But that's it from me. I'm Ride, your coffee coach, and as always, enjoy your brew.